Right. Hello.
Hello, Miss Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Feeling the sun, feeling the vibe, feeling great. Isn't it lovely?
It's really lovely and it's really warm, isn't it?
It's
Wonder-
beautiful. I did a little walk around the park before I'm getting you. I allow you to introduce yourself. I have to tell this quick story that I'm going to put it on here anyway because I did
Because you
a
can.
little walk around the park and then walked across this verge of grass that I thought looked quite firm and started to sink and couldn't go back and couldn't go forward, but then decided to go forward. I sat on a bench and this little child walked past and just looked at me like this, and I was feeling quite distraught, but it was such a little blessing with the sunshine in her face and me sitting down thinking, oh God, my boots are all messy, I'm gonna have to clean them. And her mum saying, you look like a picture. And that was lovely. So that was
Oh,
the whole thing, from the muddy grass to the little child, me feeling all with that little comment. I think it sits well with me saying, hello, Tash.
oh, that's beautiful.
Thank
There's
you.
always a silver lining, and we need to connect more, don't we? And that's just such proof of it that you were sitting, you see, you were sitting there in your own world and you could have gone down and like, oh my God, I've just nearly sunk into the ground. And
Yeah,
she was there pulling you out.
it's just with his little anyway. But that's a perfect opening, I think, to such a lovely lady, Tash
Oh,
Alexander from Head Held High.
well
Since
done.
our last meeting, I've learnt to pronounce the H's where they belong, not Hoven, Orange, or Happle, but on Head
No.
Held High. I'm
Well
so
done. I'm so, have you been taking elocution lessons since I saw you?
well. I don't know about elocution lessons, but I've thought, Sandra, what's in a H? I'm really getting carried away now.
You've overcome other things in your life. Surely you can pronounce H.
H, exactly. So
Oh,
tell
well,
me,
thank you for having me.
it's my pleasure, my pleasure. And this is a different platform for us to be able to speak about you, what you do, how you do it, and spread you across the world. Because
Oh,
I think what you've got, everyone should have. It's after the last meeting.
oh, thank you, Sandra. Well, I really feel we're kindred spirits. I think that yeah, it takes an awareness and a fight and a determination to keep going and also want to turn sort of challenging things and experiences and times around. And yeah, I set up Head Held High 8 years ago. We're a social enterprise based in Islington because there are so many things in life that can knock us and make us walk around in a certain way or feel make us feel like we've drawn the short straw and this is it, this is my life, these are the parents I've come from, this is the environment I've come from, blah blah blah. And yeah, I set up Head Held High to just remind people to become a true product of themselves. So we run very interactive workshops so people can feel the change on the inside. And we work with vulnerable adults and those with mental health issues, the unemployed, also young people in school who just need help. They might be on the verge of exclusion or experiencing a lot of detentions and yeah, just acting out a lot of learned behavior. And
Mm.
yeah, we get in there and hit to the core in a non-violent way, but a passionate way, saying, right, we've got this amount of time, let's take some action and make some changes. And I think that's, yeah, infiltrated in my own life.
Yeah.
I know that, especially now, I'm very speedy. I can imagine you're quite a fast person. You get a lot done, and I feel it does come from a ignited fire within, I think, of wanting to change and make a difference in other people's lives, but also my own.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
what gave you the impetus? What made you want to do what you do now?
Well, I came from a family with mental health issues. My parents split up when I was 2. I don't remember living with them together. My dad had bipolar, and had quite a lot of manic episodes. I mean, my mum told me this story before they split up. My mum had put his dinner on the table. My dad had decided to fly to Israel because he thought he was the Messiah, called her from the Wailing Wall and said, I think I'm the Messiah. And she said, that's lovely, darling, but your dinner's getting cold. Can you come back? And then they shortly divorced after that, as you would. Yeah, he passed quite a few years ago now. I mean, he had three children, and I was the middle child. He got married a second time, but very short amount of time, and again that was due to his mental health. So I just grew up kind of being around that and looking after him a lot, and I think that stayed with me, but maybe in an unhealthy way, where I felt like to be loved I need to look after everybody and put myself last. And slowly realizing that isn't the way forward, but actually I felt I gained a lot of strength and wisdom from those experiences to actually go, okay, well, that was his journey, it's not mine. Although I did have a spurt in a psychiatric hospital because Travelodge was full that night. Got thrown a joke every second.
It's all
It,
well, it's called tasters, Tash. It's
yeah,
called we're tasters.
yeah. It's a little Tash taster where you
Okay.
say something tragic and then you just end it with something funny on the high. So yeah. After a bereavement, I'd sort of ended up in St Anne's Hospital, actually in Tottenham, for a short amount of time. But I remember leaving there double the size on a lot of medication, but just decided I'm gonna stop this. I'm not saying that's right for everyone, but it was right for me, and um go the holistic way. But I can really see how it's very easy to get entrenched in that world, or also just believe, well, this is a karmic pattern in my family, or this is what people have experienced, so therefore this is my journey. And I went, no, it's, I want to use this to actually help other people and push myself forward. And I'm also creative, and comedy is really important to me. And the older I get, the more I realize that I do feel I'm here to find the comedy and all the crap, if I'm allowed to say that. Yeah.
Well, you said it now.
Yeah. Luckily, we've got an editor.
We'll just comedy and all the bleep, she meant to say, with
Yes.
her own sound effects. But what you said that you decided to stop your medication, and we're not advising people to do that.
No.
But what was there an epiphany? Was there did you say to yourself a moment of clarity? What made you decide to sort of say, right, okay, I'm going to do it this way?
I think it came from my true spirit, which I would describe as my life force, my wisdom. When I first began the journey, I was in a few hospitals. I think I was in Free and Barnet. I know that doesn't exist anymore. And then I was in the Priory, and then I ended up in St Anne's. And by the end, when I was on a women's ward and I was dyeing everybody's hair blonde, I was writing a comedy. And I didn't recognize myself, but in the mirror, but I felt like, okay, I don't physically look like myself anymore, but mentally and emotionally, I'm ready to change this. I think it just came from that will of I felt quite mongy and taken over on a lot of the medication, but I'm not knocking it. And I know people are on lithium and need it, and I was on various things, but there was just this will of I want to just stop this stuff and start working again and getting out there. And I was, it wasn't easy. I was very, very self-conscious. I think I told you last time we chatted, I worked in Camden Market before I went there, and you had to wear these skirts this woman designed. You couldn't not wear them, so I couldn't fit into them, but I just rung her back and said, look, I can't fit into them, but can you give me another try? And I went back to the market and stood there with a massive, massive, massive jumper on to cover everything. And slowly just started again. I don't even want to say got myself back to where I was, because we're always evolving and changing. And it was a very, very challenging, dark period of my life, and not easy on my mother at all. And I
Mm.
remember afterwards just saying, I'm so sorry I put you through that. It wasn't obviously intentional. And, you know, I'm glad she survived it.
But when
Yeah.
did you find your laughter then? When did you find your humour or your head held high? When did that happen?
Well, I think my humor from as young as I can remember. I used to get, I mean, I'm in Muswell Hill now, and I'd never imagined my son would go to my old secondary school, but he did, and we ended up moving to Muswell Hill. But I used to hang around with all these very pretty girls with cars. I still don't know how to drive. My son does, but I used to be the funny one. You know,
Yeah.
I'll hook the guys in with my jokes. I remember once there was a prom at school, and I danced with this guy the whole night. But then he saw me walking home with one of my pretty friends and shouted out her name and asked her on a date. I felt like that small. Um, and yeah, so the humor I think has always been there, and it's been in the family as well. I think of my dad. You know, he was very eccentric. He was a jazz man. He used to play with Georgie Fame back in the day, and but very funny and loud and eccentric, as well as obviously having his mental health issues, which I think helped me just be kind of bigger and louder. So yeah, the humor's always been there. And I used to do stand-up comedy. I did a couple of comedy reality shows with Rio Ferdinand and David James, and then I did something called the 1970s Office, where they employed me to kind of wind up people in advertising. I had to pretend I was a receptionist, and the producers would phone me and give me directions whilst we were on set, which was it was great. And then yeah, Head Held High came about 8 years ago. Just been running a business with someone for 5 years, and realized that we were coming from different places,
Mm.
and then thought, yeah, well, set up Head Held High. Wasn't easy. There was so much fear, you know, that when you're making a change, I think with everyone that fear is there, isn't it? And it's like pushing on through.
And how did you feel the fear and do it anyway? How did you do that?
I looked at my gas bill and I was like, I can't just sit on this sofa and wish, hope for the best. I opened the fridge door and I was like, my kid needs to be fed.
Uh-huh.
Um, how did I do that anyway? I mean, there's something about being a mother, and also you know,
Mm.
I was a single mother. I met somebody, I didn't know them, but we fell in love, and it all happened very quickly. And I was a single mother within that first year, and I think that brought out, you know, a fight. The kids are children are very grounding in that way. You know, it's like, right, I need to put food on the table, and I've got another human being to look after, and I can't be out 9 to 5. It's, you know, I'm the only parent here. So um, having a child definitely was pushing the best out in me. I know they can push out the worst as well. Let's keep it real.
Yeah.
Um, but setting up my own business and empowering others was really, really what I wanted to do, and fulfilling. I mean, I
Mm.
started off, I was doing free sessions all over the place, going, you know, all around London, just doing free workshops and just hoping for the best. But to give me that space to be there for my son when he needed it. So I think he has a massive amount of what's the word, kudos to, you know, he gave me the oomph to do it.
Mm. So let's go back. So I come along and I'm beside myself with self pity, doubt, frustration, anxiety, and I come to your class or to one of your workshops. What do you do and how do you do it? And I'm not saying give all the secrets away, but ideally, I'd like this space for people to be able to know that you're out there and their journey, what the likelihood, I know everyone's different, but what the likelihood is of them having some kind of going in one way and coming out the other end.
Yeah. Well, we would definitely have some honest heart-to-heart dialogue, which I think would help bring that person into the moment. Um, we all tell ourselves narratives, we all give ourselves stories, and our minds are so powerful. So if that person, and I experience it, you know, I'm only human. We, you know, it's how long you stay in there for, I
Yeah.
suppose, and whether you're aware, whether you've got the strength to go, okay, I need to do something that gets me back into my heart energy. But I would um talk to that person first, just to try and get them back into the present moment, and then do some interactive exercises, just helping them break through this story that they're telling themselves. So even if it's a small thing, and we work with a lot of young people with mental health issues, you know, stand up, talk about your favorite pizza. But it happened the other day in a school with somebody who I could see there was a lot of anger there. There was a lot of resistance. They spoke very passionately about the fact they just don't believe in ham and pineapple pizzas, and they just said, you know, and the whole room, the atmosphere changed. They said, you know, they were so passionate about fruit should not be put on pizzas, and their whole emotional state just changed, you
Yeah.
know, in a moment. And it was just a very simple 2-minute exercise, and then suddenly you've got this young person who's been staring out the window, you know, turning around and sharing their opinion on the pizza. And it's the same with adults. You know, we run a comedy course to help improve mental health well-being. Happened today, a young adult saying that she's very shy, very timid, and then I just said, can you just write a list of a few things that frustrate you or anger you? And then she started sharing them, and then her voice got louder because she felt passionate about it, and she wasn't thinking about, oh, I'm really shy and timid and I can't stand up in front of people. So I think in life, and I say it to myself all the time, you know, what action can we take to bring us back into the moment, because we've only got this moment. And you know, I'm saying that
Yeah.
to you, I'm saying that to myself. We've only got this moment. You know, I don't know what funding my business is bringing in after March, but I'm not there yet. You
Yeah.
know, we're here on March the 17th, and it's like, what causes can I make in my life to change that? But our minds are so powerful, and it is so easy to be dominated by our past, how much money we've got in our pocket, and forget that, you know, I'm grateful I've got a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I can walk outside and just sit outside and breathe the sunshine in, even if I, you know, don't have a garden. And it's it's not easy just remembering those small things. So
Yeah.
I mean, the short answer is I would do anything I can to come out of here
Yeah.
and go into your heart energy. And for me, it's about action. It's about doing something. I'm not, although I'm talking and probably rambling a lot, there might be people listening going, when is she going to shut up? When is she going to take a
No.
sip of her tea? But yeah, just anything. What was I going to say? Just action. It's
Yeah.
like, right, just do something. Can you just stand up? The amount of times I say to people, can you stand up and do something? Don't worry about right now, you don't know what you're going to say, but just take the action of standing up off the chair.
Yeah.
It's scary,
Mm-hmm.
but they surprise themselves.
Mm.
You know,
And I'm not, like you said, it's scary and they surprise themselves. But how do you feel? You know, I know that you sound, because you've said you've been doing this for 8 years. Has there ever been a time where you thought to yourself, I can't do this? Or does it just come through, like flows through your being?
well, it's not, I mean, does it flow through my being? Every time every time I feel like I can't do this anymore, or that I can't do another funding bid, or I'm very frustrated at the moment that we have to constantly apply for funding because so many establishments say we need this. You know, we've got 80 young people that need help with their behavior, blah blah blah, and then there's a block on it because we need the funding. But every time I had a moment yesterday in a school where we were finishing a program. I was with a teenage girl, and I had her in that second. I
Mm-hmm.
said, do you get why we do this? And she said, yeah. And her whole energy changed. And I said, now I feel I want to start the course. You know, I want to do another 6 weeks with you. Um, so it's having that change with people and knowing that you're making a difference keeps me going.
Mm-hmm.
But I also do have my other creative side of my life where I do write and I do want to perform more. You know, it's pushed me to book myself a stand-up comedy gig when I haven't done one for ages, but I'm giving myself now a week to try and write something new. And when I booked it, I was shaking inside. But
Wow.
then I remembered what I say in my workshops, which is
Yeah.
when you do things that come out of your comfort zone, you feel awkward, you feel nervous, but it means you're growing. So for me, it's also opening the papers and see, not that I open papers actually, so that was a lie. Listeners, that was a lie, because at the moment I'm trying not to watch the
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
Although pray for everything that's going on as
Yeah.
well, but we have to be careful.
Hmm.
Uh, but when especially we work with an anti-knife crime charity, the Benkin Seller Trust, and we lost nearly 30 young lives last year, and that's during a pandemic, and it's just awful. And especially with the young people, if we can affect one person's life, then job done. And that has a ripple effect on other people's lives. And there is such, for me, and I share this with them, there is a pandemic going on in this country where you've got these young people that are displaying big bravado, the big man, the big girl. I can walk in a room, I can look at you in a certain way, I've got the confidence to talk over you. But then you say, right, just stand up and just talk about your favorite Netflix series and just try and give me eye contact. They can't do it. And that's the reality of the real 14, 15-year-old. And it's like, we need to break down this sort of false bravado, and also to encourage young people to speak, about how they're feeling, rather than take it out on somebody else or fill their lives up with drama,
Yeah.
which is easy for any of us to do.
Mm.
So it's, and we work with the elderly. We set up a Zoom club for the elderly over the pandemic. The funding runs out in a week. It's so lovely to see. We had like a discussion on fashion icons, and they're all sitting on Zoom in their hats and telling me they got married in them, but they're now divorced, and advising me never to get married, but make sure I look nice for all times. Um, but it's so lovely. We had Christopher Biggins talking about his life with his partner in the background cooking. It was, and that's the thing. I'm sure you feel it as well, Sandra. It's like the
Yeah.
quickest way to feel joy is to bring joy to others or to
Yeah.
connect. It opens your heart energy, but then also to go, oh, my personal dream is maybe to sing or to write a book, and to give yourself time to do that, which I am only just starting to prioritize as well.
So, right, we're going to speak about you getting funding, maybe what you're going to do in order to keep your head held high, going. I tried to do it really quickly then. Trying to get flash, got a bit carried away there, and sounded like I had asthma. all that breathing before those H's and drive me crazy. Anyway.
Oh my God, Sandra, I may change the name of my company just for you.
Oh,
Just for you. I'll just
I just tap my head 3 times while I put it up.
It is a mouthful, and I did think that when I was coming up with the name. I thought it's going to get on people's nerves. I mean, do call it H. Call it HHH. I mean, I do. It's
Pronounce
such.
the H. It's all about the West Indian origin, and it's about us and our H's. We like to put. My mum says, "Hello, how are you? I've put something in the oven." All the time. We just put it in just in case there should be one there. So, do you know what I mean? It's a personal thing that I might end up coming to one of your courses just to be able to.
I can't wait.
That aside, now I lost my train of thought.
You were saying about funding. I'll remind you.
Yes, out of all the things to forget about, I just was, oh God, it became the Sandra show then. But really, what do we do? How do you sustain, maintain? What can we do? Because I really believe in you, and I believe in what you're doing. And mainly because whenever I meet you, I always walk away giggling or feeling good. The last project we did, there's not a person that doesn't listen to it, that doesn't, identify with something that was said, or feels better because there's laughter and authenticity there. So what can we do? How do we spread the word?
Oh, how do you spread the word? Well, you don't sleep for the rest of your life, and you just talk about head held high throughout the night on Twitter. What do you do? What I visualize is getting permanent funding, even if it was for a year. And I'm trying to link up with corporate businesses who would have charitable objectives, who would like to, you know, contribute to youth violence reduction or breaking isolation for the elderly or improving people's mental health, and could sponsor Head Held High or donate some funding so we could just do what we're meant to do. I mean, we're doing a fundraising event on May the 9th at the Comedy Store. We've got celebrity comedian Sindhu V's performing. We've got Tom Ward, who was just live at the Apollo, who works with Head Held High. And then we've got participants who are also performing, which is just fantastic. I want to fill the place up, you know. If we can fill the place up, that pays for 3 comedy courses. And we've been working with the charity Mind. Bupa funded us. We were 1 minute on comic relief last year, which is fantastic. But you know, they funded us to work with individuals in mental health. There's a massive need, and I think if we could get some permanent funding, it would just free us up to do the work that we do, make the difference, create the value, and you know, just make a change in people's lives for the better. I've got coaches that are ready to work. The need is there, you know. It's just so frustrating to be able to say, right, where's the money coming from? Obviously, it's part of running a social enterprise charity. You've got to be going for these bids, but everybody's going for the bids. So yeah, if there was, you know, any organization out there that wanted to give us sponsorship, you know, you would get things in return. We'd obviously put your logos on our materials. We would film interviews with the director, the CEO. We would hear about, you know, your charitable objectives as well. It would just open things up for us. And I do want to do more fundraising events. I do want to put on more performances as well of participants, to give them that opportunity to perform live, and it helps with self-esteem, motivation, etc. But yeah, to get some permanent fund, even if it was for 6 months, it's just like, right, we can now work with 150 people and make a difference.
So now, how do we get hold of you? Where do we go? How do we find you?
You can move in with me, but I've only got 1 spare bedroom. You can email me at tash@headheldhigh.org.uk. Our website is www.headheldhigh.org.uk. There's lots of footage. There's loads of testimonials. There's an outline of all of our programs. We're on Instagram at Head Held High London, LDN. So yes, do get in touch. I'm really, really happy to do a Zoom. There's no attachment expectation. We could just have a chat and see what we could come up with. And obviously very open to developing partnerships and used to doing partnership bids as well. But yeah, if we could get the funding, then we can help more and more people walk with their head held high. Sounds cheesy, but the intention is good.
Absolutely phenomenal. It's been brilliant speaking to you. And no doubt we'll meet up again, because, you know, I'm an ambassador for HHH, even if it's to improve my elocution. But that aside, every time I meet you, I feel brilliant. It's amazing. And we will put this, you know, your initiative, your company on the map, because right now, this is what people need. They need to smile, they need to laugh, they need to feel good about themselves amidst the whatever's happening around us. And we've come through 2 years COVID. We're now sitting down quite anxious about what's happening in
Ukraine and the world and the impact. Yeah.
You know, so if we can find a space in ourselves via your company, via your initiative, to just smile and appreciate living, then why not? And it's a privilege knowing you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much.
And it's an honor knowing you. Thank you for this opportunity, Sandra. And let's all do our best to be in the moment and do what we can to make ourselves feel a bit better.
Fantastic. Thank you.